Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all of you class no. So we'll discuss today about responsibility accounting and transfer pricing. Sorry, not balance scorecard. No, later I will discuss about balance scorecard. But today more on responsibility accounting and the transfer pricing. Mamaya class will discuss also about transfer pricing after my discussion no about responsibility accounting. We'll discuss today about the concept of responsibility accounting, identify the features of it, especially about the cost center, the profit center, about the investment center. Okay? So, yan yung mga cost center na kasama, no? Especially in terms of the responsibility accounting. And also, describe also the concept of the balance scorecard and the features of it. Pero hindi siya, no? Uh, in my, siguro in my next video about balance scorecard. But today, I will discuss more about the transfer pricing. Okay, sige. Number one, describe the concept of responsibility accounting. Ano bang ibig sabihin, class, ng responsibility accounting? Okay. So, class, pag sinabing responsibility accounting, it involves accumulating and reporting of your costs, no? In terms of your revenue, were relevant on the basis of the individual manager who has the authority to make your day-to-day operations. Please take note of the words who has the authority to make your day-to-day decisions. And that's the thing that we need to consider pag sinabi natin responsibility accounting. And the evaluations for this one, no, in the performance of this, it is based on the cost directly under the management of control or the management control. Again, you are responsible for that cost if you have the authority to make a day-to-day operations and you have the control over that cost. So, yung class ang nandyan sa ating responsibility accounting. That's why, when you say about responsibility accounting, alright, the costs and the revenues can be directly associated with the specific level of the management responsibility. Please take note of the word, it is for the responsibility of the management or the management responsibility. And number two, class, pag sinabing responsibility accounting, it should be the costs and the revenues are controllable. Okay? It should be controllable at every level of the responsibility with which they are associated with. That's why, class, when you say about budget data, it can be developed, alright? So, in particularly, about evaluating the effectiveness of data. Kaya nga, class, if you notice, importante din yung ating tinatawag na budget information or the budget data, no, na nakasama in terms of 'di ba? Ang role in the management accounting is that it is more on controlling. If it is more on controlling, it is more on checking the effectiveness of our cost and the revenue. Tayo ba effective or not? Alright. So in terms of this class, no, so very important also is what you call decentralization. Okay? Responsibility accounting is especially valuable pag sinasabi natin decentralization. But the question here is, ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng decentralization? It means that the control of the operations is delegated by the top management to many individuals throughout the organizations. Ibig sabihin, class, binibigyan niya ng responsibility ang nasa baba. And that's very important role, no? In particular, no, that the managers have the responsibility, no? Hindi yung presidente lang, no, ang may say, no? Kasi nga, of course, it is within your kaya nga ano pang reason, class, no? Ano pang reason kung bakit, no, nagkaroon pa tayo ng ganito, no? If ang presidente pa, no, ang may decision ng lahat, 'di ba? What is decentralization? It means the control of the operations is delegated, okay, to the top management to many individuals. That's why, class, very important also yung tinatawag nating segment. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng segment? Okay? So, segment here, an identified area of responsibility in terms of decentralized operations. Okay? So, yeah, that's the meaning of decentralization. Alright. Responsibility accounting also is essential to any effective system of the budgetary control. Okay? It differs from the budgeting in two aspects. Distinctions between controllable and the non-controllable class. Pag sinabing responsibility accounting, hindi mawawala dyan ang distinctions between controllable and non-controllable. And also the performance reports either emphasize or include only items controllable by the individual managers. Again, more relevant here yung tinatawag nating controllable and non-controllable. Okay? Yan. So, mamaya, we will also have that one, no? Okay. Next one. Next one. Okay. Very important. Again, ulit-ulit lang ako, class, ha? Controllable and non-controllable. All costs and revenues are controllable at some level or within the company itself, no? Under responsibility accounting, the critical issue is whether the cost of the revenue is controllable at the level of the responsibility. Please take note of this. It is the control or controllable within the responsibility with which you are associated with. Alright. A cost is considered to be controllable if the managerial responsibility of that manager has the power to incur within the given period of time. And that's your controllable cost. In general, costs incurred directly by a level of responsibility are controllable by that level. Alright. You have also here costs incurred indirectly and allocated to a responsibility. It is also known as a non-controllable cost. Okay? It is also known as the non-controllable cost. Okay. There are costs indirectly allocated to the product. Ibig sabihin, yan yung mga costing natin na tinatawag din na common cost. Pag common cost, it is cost na ating cost of all. Kaya nga it is indirectly. Alright. So, very important also, class, yung tinatawag nating responsibility reporting system. Ano naman to, class? Responsibility accounting system or reporting system. It involves the preparation of a report for each level of responsibility shown in the company's organizations. No? So, mamaya, you will encounter, ano ba yung mga pinagsasabi ni Sir Jayman about the responsibility accounting, about responsibility reporting system. No? So, it permits management by exception at each level of responsibility within the organizations. So, that's your responsibility reporting system. Alright. Next one. Types of responsibility centers. Please take note of the types of the responsibility centers. You have here what you call cost center, may tinatawag ding profit center, may tinatawag ding investment center. Alright, so ano yung class? No? Very important also is about the cost center, the responsibility center, and also the investment center. Alright, so ano yung class? No? Pag sinabing ganyan, no? Okay, cost center, ang ginagawa mo lang ay mag-generate ng cost. Wala nang iba. Okay? It will generate your cost but does not directly generate your revenue. And that's your cost center. Okay. How about naman in terms of the profit center? Profit center is more on, ano siya, more on cost. At the same time, you have your revenue. Alright, so yan ang ating tinatawag na profit center. By the way, ano yung mga sample ng cost center? Of course, planta, mga support services, like accounting department, or any other. Yan. Profit center, yan yung mga sales natin. Sales and marketing. And the investment center, kadalasan, yan yung ating head office. Yes. Yan yung ating head office. Okay? So, yan yung ating cost and the profit center. Okay. So, sample again, as part of this, no, if you have the cost center and you have the profit center and you have your investment center. When you say about cost center, usually production department or the service department, no? So, accounting, human resource, logistics, sila yung mga cost center. And about profit center, individual departments of retail stores or the branch offices or the banks. And also you have what you call investment centers, subsidiary companies, the head office, kasi they have the power to negotiate in the investment. And that's your investment center. Okay, next one. Alright, okay, so we go one by one class. Okay, so we go one by one. So in terms of number one is about the cost center, no? So very important is about in terms of your cost center. Okay? So again, we only we generate cost lang, okay? So yan yung part ng ating cost center. So the evaluation of the manager's performance for your cost centers, that the ability to meet the budgeted goals for the controllable cost. Kaya ang class, sabi ko sa inyo, importante yung ating tinatawag na controllable cost. Yan ang pinaka-importante class dito, no? Yung tinatawag nating controllable cost. Okay? So, mini class, responsibility reports for the cost centers compare your actual controllable with the flexible budget data. Okay? So, yan ha. Yan yung importante rin na kailangan natin i-consider. Okay. So, only controllable costs are included in the report and the fixed variable costs are not distinguished. So, assume that the finishing department is able to control the cost of the report. Now, class, please take note. There will be no distinction no? About variable or fixed. Basta it is controllable or non-controllable. Yan ang pinaka-importante dito, class, no? Whether it is controllable or non-controllable. Wala nang iba. Kaya class, dyan pa lang makikita mo na, no? Dyan pa lang, class, makikita mo na kung ano yung variable, kung ano yung fixed, right? Paano? Malamang supervision yan yung ano, supervision dyan yung ating fixed kasi there's no change, no? There would be no wala siyang variance because fixed is fixed cost, no? It will remain the same regardless of the activity level, no? So yan yung ating tinatawag na fixed cost. Okay. Basta class, ang pinaka-goal natin dyan is that budget and actual, no? So, yan class. So, mini class, you have 13,500 and 14,000. Malamang yan ay unfavorable of 500. Mas malaki ang actual mo sa budget. Indirect labor, 18,000 and 17,000. You have 1,000 favorable. And we have what you call utilities, no? 4, 5, and 4, 6. You have 100 unfavorable. Supervision, malamang wala, 0 siya. Ayan, so, yan class, no? So, yan lang ang ating to consider, no, in considerations, no? Particularly about the cost center. Napakadali lang. You will just classify whether it is controllable or non-controllable. Alright, next one. Next one is all about your profit center. Okay? Class, in the profit center, ano nga yung formula, class, ng ating net income under variable costing? Sales minus variable cost is equals to the contribution margin minus fixed cost, and you have your net income. Ngayong class, iba na, no? Because we will compute for the segment margin and we will compute for our controllable margin. Okay. So, meaning to say, class, in the profit center, the operating revenues and the variable expenses are controllable by the manager of the profit center. To determine this one, in terms of the controllability of the fixed cost, however, it is necessary to distinguish between direct and indirect fixed costs. Yan na. So, very important is to consider or the meaning of direct fixed costs and indirect fixed costs. So, direct fixed costs, it is traceable costs and are the costs that relate specifically to the responsibility center and are included for the sole benefit of the center. And most directly fixed costs are controllable by the profit center. So direct fixed costs, traceable fixed costs, they are traceable fixed. They are common. They are traceable, no? While indirect fixed costs, it is known as common fixed costs. It pertains to the company's overall operating activities and are incurred for the benefit of more than one profit center. And thus, the most indirect costs are not controllable by the profit center. So they are not controllable by the profit center manager. Okay. So paano yan? No? So in any responsibility report for the profit center, it shows budgeted and actual controllable revenues and costs. Class, ito na ang formula niya. No? Sales, okay? Sales minus variable cost is equals to the contribution margin minus controllable fixed cost. And that's now what you call controllable margin. The excess of the contribution margin over controllable fixed cost is identified as controllable margin. Okay? Non-controllable fixed costs are not reported. And with this, the controllable margin is considered to be the best measure of the manager's performance in controlling the revenues and costs. Kasi bago na yung ating formula in computing for, bagong formula to compute for this, no? It is your controllable margin. Okay. For example, responsibility report for the profit center, okay? So for example, the managers was below budgeted, no, of expectations, and you have here 36,000 or you have 10. Okay, so ano yung formula, class, no? So the formula here again, the sales minus our variable cost is equals to the controllable margin. Okay? And then you will minus also your controllable fixed cost. Okay? Para makuha natin ang ating tinatawag na controllable margin. No? So with this class, because of this, no, so you can be able to compute na. Alright? Particularly about the variance, no? So, ano yung variance natin? You have 36,000 unfavorable. So, you will compare again the actual and the budget. So, malamang, pag malaki ang actual sa budget, pag cost yan, it is unfavorable. Pero class, baliktad siya pag sa ating variable cost, no? Pag malaki ang cost, pag malaki yung budget sa actual, yan ay favorable. Class, baliktad siya sa ating ito ay baliktad sa ating cost, okay? Na tinatawag. Alright. So, with this class, you have controllable margin of 36,000 unfavorable. Okay? Unfavorable. Okay. Next one naman is all about what you call a investment center. Ano naman yung investment center? Okay? So, class, usually, nandito yung mga question in the CPA board exam. Bakit? Nandito yung tinatawag na ROI. Alright? Yung return on investment, yung ating residual income. Okay? So, nandiyan class yung mga formula ng ating tinatawag na residual income and the return on investment. Okay. So, an important characteristics of this one, again, is what you call in the investment center, yung ating tinatawag na ROI, or what you call return on investment. Okay, so what is the ROI class? No, so what is the return on investment? Okay, so important of this one is, or the primary basis for evaluating here is what you call ROI. ROI is considered to be the superior of any other performance measurement because it shows the effectiveness of the manager in utilizing the managers or the assets at manager's disposal. Yan ay return on investment. Okay. So the formula class for computing our ROI is this one. We need also first to know ano ba ang tinatawag nating operating assets. No? So, operating assets is the consists of your current assets and plant assets. So, please take note it consists of the current assets and the plant assets used in operations by the center. That's why class, the formula for the ROI is investment, center, controllable margin. Class, ano nga yun? Formula ng controllable margin? Sales minus our sales minus our variable cost. You have your CM minus your controllable fixed cost para meron tayong tinatawag na segment margin or controllable margin. That's why the formula again, investment center, controllable margin divided by your average investment center operating assets. What is the operating assets? Current assets plus your plant assets. Usually your usually ano yan? That's your property, plant and equipment, no? That's your property, plant and equipment. And that's the formula class pag sinasabi natin operating assets. So mean to say, the ROI here is worth 20%. The ROI here is worth 20%. Okay. Next one. Class, no, ito yung formula again. Kanina, di ba? Ito yung kanina, no? So, naulit lang. Kaya lang, pagkakaiba dito, class, ay yung ating ROI, no? Yung ating ROI. So, di ba? Kanina, we have 36. So, class, ang meaning to say, we need first to compute for our controllable margin. Kasi nga, ang formula ay investment controllable margin divided by your operating assets, no? And that's your current assets plus your plant assets. So, in budget, for example, sorry, na-delete ko last. What if you have 2 million, no? 2 million would be our operating assets. So, 300,000 divided by 2 million, you have here 15%. Based on the actual, ganun din, 264 divided by 2 million, and you have 3.2%. So, malamang it is unfavorable, no? Because mas malaki pa ang income mo in terms of the budget versus our actual. And that's the importance class of our ROI or return on investment. Okay, next one. How do we improve, no, our ROI, no? So managers can improve the ROI by pwedeng increasing the controllable margin or reduce the average operating assets. So depende. Basta you have, what if you have a 12% return on investment? We go scenario number 1. Controllable margin can be increased by increasing the sales or by reducing variable and controllable fixed costs. So we will increase our sales and we will reduce the variable. Okay, so paano yan? Kaya lang, in this situation class, in number 1, ang ginawa dyan ay, we just deduct or we will just have increase in our sales. So, paano pag ganon? So, you have a 10% class, no? Diba? Go back class sa ating discussion in the CVP analysis wherein, if may increase in our sales, it will also affect our variable cost because variable cost will vary directly and proportionately to your sales, no? Go back to our CVP analysis. If you have 10% increase class, so malamang maapektuhan din dyan ang ating variable cost, and with that you have your CM, no? What if you have an increase of 90,000? Your controllable margin is now 690,000. If you have 690,000 class and no change in the average operating asset of the 5 million, you have 13.8%, diba? If you notice, there would be an increase in your ROI. So okay, no? If you have a 10% increase, maganda, no? Because you have an increase of the ROI of from 12 to 13.8%. An increase in the sales benefits, ang sabi is that both the investment centers and the companies, it results in a new business. Okay? It would not benefit if the company, if the increase was achieved by the operating expense, no, by the company class. So that's one, no, that we need to consider in terms of increasing or decreasing our cost, no. And okay, next one naman, what if ang nangyari daw ay decrease by 10%, di ba? Sabi kanina, yan yung pwedeng mangyari, no? Pwedeng i-decrease ang cost or increase ang ating revenue. Okay? Pero class, ito naman ay decrease ang ating cost. So, ano mangyayari pag ganyan, no? So, we need to say, you have a 10% decrease for this. So, maganda ba siya or pangit, no? Tingnan natin. Okay. So, with this class, no, as part of this, you have as 14.8% class, no? So, you have a 14.8%. We need to say, mas maganda ba? Paano mas maganda, no? Yes, mas maganda to with a 14.8%. Meaning class, you have a decrease of 140,000. Okay? Thus the margin now will become a 140, and it will be added to 140. Kaya nga, 'di ba, you have your 140,000. Okay. So meaning class, mas maganda siya, no? Because mas malaki siya in terms of the increase in the ROI. Okay? The course of the action class of this is beneficial, alright, when the waste and the inefficiencies are to be eliminated. Okay? However, the reduction is vital costs such as required or maintenance and inspection, no? It is not likely to be acceptable by the top management. Okay. Ito naman class, what if ang nangyari ay walang change in the controllable margin pero mayroon sa average assets. So, parang pangat din, 13.3, no? Mas okay pa rin talaga to, no? With the 14.8%. So, that's your controllable margin. Okay. Judgmental factor in the ROI, no? So, the return on the investment approach includes two judgmental factors. Of course, the valuations of the operating assets and the margin or the income measures. Of course, in terms of the valuation of the operating assets, di ba? Kailangan mong i-value ang ating planned assets, and at the same time to have a value in terms of our planned assets and current assets. And also about the margin or income measures. That measures may be controllable margin, income from the operations. Okay? Class, another example for the ROI is this. Please take note of the formula. The ROI is equals to the operating income divided by average operating assets, or margin to be multiplied by turnover. Class, tignan mo yung ROI sa letter B. Tanggalin mo yung sales and sales. Ano yung formula? Operating income divided by operating assets. So, meaning class, it will just explain, no, the meaning of the ROI. Okay? Operating income divided by our operating assets. Okay. To illustrate class, what if there's no margin, controllable margin, you can use operating income. To illustrate, assume that the company has 20% minimum rate of return for all of its division. 3 investment centers to be evaluated had the following information. operating income, 1.2, 400, 100, sales, 800, 2 million, 500, and average assets of 5, 2.5, and 4. Okay? What if ganon? So, we do first for center, cost center, or investment center A. So, ROI, formula, 1.2 divided by your 5 million. And you have here, 24%. Please take note of the number 2 formula. Same lang naman yan. Margin to be multiplied by turnover, and you have also 24%. Baka lang kasi ibigay sa board exam na parehas ang formula. Okay? Alright, next one is about this cost center letter boy. Assume that the company has 20% minimum rate of return for all of its divisions, and 3 investment centers to be evaluated had the following information available. So you have 400,000 divided by 2.5, and you have your 16%. And the ROI, 400,000 divided by 2 million times 2 million divided by 2.5, you have the same. And the answer here is at 16%. Yes. Cost center letter C, 100,000 divided by 400, and you have 25%. Okay? 100 divided by 500 times 500 divided by 400, you have 0.2 times 1.1, you have the same. And you have 0.25%. And that's your ROI pa din. Okay? Class, please take note of this. No? Below is the summary for the 3 investment centers. You have investment centers A, B, and C. And you have your margin of 15, 20, and 20. And you have your turnover of 1.6, 1. Okay. Class, please take note of this. No? Don't read it lang. Medyo mahaba. No? Pero ito lang class, ang explanation niya. No? Tignan mo yung ROI. 24, 16, and 25. Magkano ba yung minimum required rate of return kanina? Di ba 20%? Meaning to say class, yung letter boy dyan, okay? Yung letter boy dyan, please take note, ay below the minimum required rate of return. If it is below minimum required rate of return, for sure, ang letter, ang investment center B ay yan ay you will not accept the investment center B because it is below the 20% minimum required rate of return. Sir, ano yung given ba yan? Di ba given siya? Ito yan, no? Sa pinakataas, you have a company has a 20% minimum required rate of return. That's why mayroong number 2, yung tinatawag nating residual income. So, ano lang class, to validate lang na tama yung ating decision is to counteract the weakness of the ROI. Companies may use residual income as an alternative performance measure. And it is known as residual income. It refers to the excess of the operating income over the minimum required return on the segment. Yan. Okay? The use of the RI encourages the managers to accept the project, alright, that earn the return that is above. No? Diba kanina, diba? Given yung ating tinatawag na minimum required rate of return, which is at 20%. Ano sinabi dyan? To accept the above minimum rate of return and to prevent the fallacy of using the ROI. Ito lang naman class ay, although may weakness naman yung ROI, pero for me, meron din naman chance na yan ay to validate na tama ang ating ROI. Paano yan? Sige, mamaya ito yun. Okay? So, mini class, residual income, it refers to the excess of operating income over the minimum required rate of return on a segment operating assets. And the use of the RI encourages managers to accept any project, alright, that earns a return that is above the minimum required rate of return. Yan. And to prevent the fallacy of using the ROI that may elect or reject the profitable segment, that reduces also the divisional return on investment. Okay, so that's your residual income is all about. Okay, however, The use of RI encourages the short-term orientation, and moreover, the amount computed an absolute measure of profitability, okay, which is not useful in evaluating centers or what you call significantly different in terms of the sizes. To compute for this and for the apply for this one, RI, the formula here is this one. Ano yung formula? Operating income divided by your divided by is equals to your required income. How do we compute for our required income? It is to be computed as required income, okay, is equals to the average operating assets, and it is to be multiplied by the minimum rate of return. And that's the formula class of our residual income. Okay? So, meaning to say, dapat mas malaki ang operating income natin, alright, sa ating required income para to be accepted. Okay. Sample. So, using the previous example, we calculate the residual income as RI is equals to the 1.2 minus 1 million. Para nakuha yun? 5 million to be multiplied by 20% and you have 1 million. And it is known, and you have 200,000. Cost center B, 400,000. Class, di ba? Sabi ko kanina, pangit yung cost center B. Kasi nga, it is below the 20%. Eh, dito pala class, if you notice, negative 100,000 na, no? Required income is equals to 2.5 to be multiplied by 20%. It is equals to the 500,000, no? 400 minus 500,000 is equals to negative 100,000. Okay. And also in cost center C, 100,000 minus 80,000 is equals to 20. 400,000 times 20%, and you have 80. Class, to summarize, no? O, diba sabi ko kanina, yung cost center B ay pangat yan because it is below the minimum required rate of return, which is at 16%. But but your cost of capital is 20. Class, tira mong RI, negative 100,000. Meaning to say, it validates na tama yung ating ROI kanina. Okay? Yes. Hopefully, you've learned about this one, residual income and the return on investment. Next one. Meaning to say, when you say about responsibility accounting, it is the principles of performance evaluation. And the performance evaluation is at the center of the responsibility accounting. And the performance evaluation is a management functions that compares actual results with the budget goals. No? So that's what you call the principles of performance evaluation. And the performance evaluation includes both behavioral and also reporting principles. No? That's one of the things that we need to consider. Class, pag sinabing principles of performance evaluation as in terms of the behavioral, okay, the human factor is a critical in evaluating the performance behavioral principle. Includes the following. So the managers of responsibility center should have the direct input into the process of establishing the budget goals for their area of responsibility. And the evaluation of this performance should be based entirely on the matters that are controllable. Kaya nga class, di ba? It should be controllable by the managers, this being evaluated. And also, the process must allow managers to respond to their evaluation process. And the evaluation should identify both good and bad performance. Alright? And also, in the principles of performance evaluation reporting, performance report are primarily, of course, it is internal in nature. Okay? Certain only data that are controllable by the manager of the responsibility center, yan, provides accurate and reliable budget data to measure performance, yes, highlight significant differences between actual results and budgeted goals, yes, and be tailor-made for the intended evaluation also, no? And be prepared at the reasonable interval. So, yung class, yan yung mga ano natin na masasabi natin na yan ay part of the evaluation report. Okay? So, we are finished now already about responsibility center, but we'll discuss also about the transfer pricing. So, very important also is what you call transfer pricing. So, ano ba ang ibig sabihin, class, ng tinatawag nating transfer pricing? Okay? So, transfer pricing, please take note, the key concepts and definitions of this is that transfer price is the price charged when one segment of the company provides goods or services to another segment of the company. Meaning to say, they are sister company. And the fundamentals objective of setting the price is to motivate managers to act in the best interest of the overall company. So, yan naman talaga ang pinaka-goal natin, to act to the best interest of the overall company. Alright. So, class, meaning to say, no? So, the three primarily approach, no, of this one is that negotiated transfer prices. And we have also here what you call transfer at the cost of the selling division. And also you have transfer at the market price. And so that's the three primarily approaches, no, in terms of setting up the selling prices, no. So yan yung pinaka-importante natin na consideration, no, in setting up our prices. Okay. Please take note of this number 1. It is your negotiated transfer price. So, ano bang ibig sabihin, class, ng negotiated transfer price? A negotiated transfer price results from discussion between selling and buying division. So, meaning, class, nag-uusap ang selling and buying division. So, ano yung pag-uusapan nila, no? Especially about, ano ba, no? About selling and the buying division. So, advantages of this negotiated transfer price is that they preserve the autonomy of the division, which is consistent with the spirit of decentralization. Yes, no? Yan yung negotiated transfer price, no? And number 2, the managers negotiating the transfer prices are likely to have much better information about potential costs and benefits of the transfer than others in the company. Please take note of the range acceptable in the transfer price. The upper limit daw is determined by the buying division. Please take note na pinaka-maximum daw and the upper limit is determined by the buying, while the lower limit, pinaka-mababa, ay determined by the selling. Again, please take note of this, no? The upper limit is more or determined by the buyer kasi sila bibili eh. The lower limit naman is the selling. Siyempre, hindi sila mag-accept kung sila ay palugi naman, no? Instead na they will sell it na lang sa iba kasi naman sa sister company. Okay. Assume that the information as shown with respect to the Imperial Beverages and Pizza Maven, both companies are owned by Harris and Lauder. Halimbawa, yan yung given. Imperial is the buying, while Pizza is the selling. Imperial Beverages ginger beer production capacity per month is worth 10,000 barrels. Variable cost, let's say 8 euro per barrel. Fixed cost is 70,000. Wala akong pakialam sa fixed cost. Fixed cost will remain the same regardless of the activity level. And you have the selling price of the Imperial Beverages ginger beer on the outside market is worth $20. Purchase price on the part of Pizza is at 18. Okay? So, you have 18. Sorry, Imperial pala is the selling while Pizza Maven is the buying. Ano tayo? Baliktad. Okay. Monthly consumption of ginger beer is you have 2,000. Okay? Again, si Imperial ay selling and Pizza Maven is your buying division. Okay. For example, selling division, Imperial, again, lowest acceptable transfer price is calculated as follows. Last, ito ang kanyang transfer price. Transfer price of the selling division is that hindi bababa, should be more than or equal to the variable cost per unit plus total contribution margin on lost sales divided by number of units transferred. Okay? Let's calculate the lowest and the highest possible transfer prices under three scenarios. Buying division naman, the highest acceptable transfer price is computed as follows. Transfer price daw ay should not be lower than or equal to the cost of buying. Magkano nga yan? 18 yan eh. No? If an outside supplier does not exist, the highest acceptable price is to be computed as follows. Transfer price is equals to the less than or equal to the profit to be earned per unit sold. Sige, para maintindihan, ito yung example natin. Okay? On the part of selling division, si Imperial, no? If the Imperial beverages has sufficient idle capacity, which is you have 3,000 barrels, to satisfy Pizza Maven demand of 2,000, so 2,000 demand, no? Without sacrificing sales to the other customers, then the lowest and the highest possible prices are as follows. Transfer price on the part of selling, of course, yung kanyang variable cost. Wala naman loss. There would be no loss. Zero siya. Divided by 2,000, you have 8. So, meaning class, on the part of the selling, ang transfer price niya ay 8. On the part of the buying division, transfer price is less than of cost of buying from outside suppliers. So, mean to say, ang pinaka-acceptable na pinaka-maximum niya ay 18. So, what would be the range of acceptable transfer price? Between 8 and 18. On the part of the selling division, 8 lang ang aking ma-accept. Hanggang 8 lang. No? Sa buying naman, hanggang 18 lang. So, meaning to say, bahala kayo mag-usap. No? Pwedeng at 10, basta within 8 and 18. Okay, very good. Next one. How about if walang capacity na? Zero capacity. Ano nga sabi? Pag walang capacity, kailangan mo nang i-consider ang lost sales. Okay? So, and the zero barrels and must sacrifice other customers' orders. So, you have 2,000 to meet the Pizza Maven's demands. So, you have 2,000 barrels. Then, the lowest and the highest possible transfer price are as follows. So, transfer price for the selling division is more than or equal to the $8 plus selling price minus your variable cost per unit times 2,000 yung mawawala eh. Divided by 2,000 is equals to 20. On the part of buying, hindi magbabago, 18. Paano pag ganun? Sabi ng selling, ang ma-accept ko lang ay 20. Sabi naman ni buying, hindi pwede, 18 lang yung pinaka-maximum ko. Therefore, there's no range of acceptable price. Yes, there's no range of acceptable transfer price. Alright, next one. What if hati-hati? No? If Imperial Beverages has some other capacity and must sacrifice other customer orders. Okay lang, sige. Yung 1,000 mawawala, yung 1,000, sige. Ibigay ko na lang sa'yo. No? So, meaning class, the loss sales is 1,000. So, 20 minus 8 times 1,000 divided by 2,000 plus 8. So, meaning to say, transfer price on the part of selling is 14. On the part of buying division, ganun pa rin, you have 18. So, meaning to say, therefore, the range of acceptable transfer price is between 14 and 18. At least meron tayong acceptable transfer price. And that's your negotiated transfer price. So, how do we evaluate the negotiated transfer price? No? If the transfer is within the company, would result in the higher overall profit for the company, there's always a range of transfer prices within which both the selling and the buying divisions would have higher profits if they agree to do the transfer. Okay? If the managers are pitted against each other rather than against their past performance or reasonable benchmarks, a non-cooperative atmosphere is almost guaranteed. No? So malamang may mag-aaway dyan. No? Totoo yan. No? Given the disputes that often accompany the negotiation prices, most companies rely some other means of setting up transfer prices. Yan. Okay? So, pwedeng mag-usap, pwedeng hindi. Mag-aaway pa yan. No? Next one. Transfers at the cost of the selling division. Alright. Many companies set transfer prices at either the variable cost or the full absorption costing. Alright. Drawbacks of this approach include using the full costing, full cost or transfer prices, and can lead to sub-optimization. Yes, pwede magkaroon ng sub-optimization. The selling division will never show a profit of any internal transfers. That's why the cost-based transfer prices do not provide incentive to control your costs. Yan yung pangit plus sa ating transfer price. Okay. And next one, what if the transfers is within, no, at the market price? Okay? A market price or the price charged for an item of an open market is often regarded as the best approach of the transfer pricing problem. So, ito yung pinakamaganda in terms of the transfer pricing model. A market price approach works best when the products or service is sold on the present form outside customers and the selling division has no idle capacity. A market price approach does not work well when the selling division has idle capacity. So for me, mas pinakamaganda sa lahat yung transfer at the market price. Okay. So divisional, what is pala sub-optimization? So divisional autonomy and sub-optimization, the principles of totalization suggest that companies should grant managers autonomy to set the transfer prices. Yun. So dapat meron tayong parang autonomy. Okay? And decide whether to sell internally or externally, even this may occasionally result in suboptimal decisions. This way, top management allows subordinates to control their own destiny. Okay? And that's why, class, internal aspect of transfer pricing is that transfer pricing objectives is, in terms of domestic, greater divisional autonomy, greater motivations for managers, better performance evaluation, and better goal congruence. Goal congruence is more on the employees. And also about international, less taxes, duties, and tariffs, less foreign exchange risk, better competitive position, and better governmental relations. So again, ito yung ating last slide, and hopefully you've learned about this responsibility accounting and the transfer pricing. So again, thank you and see you all. Bye-bye.